Welcome back. My name is Owen Wilson, and this is the truth of what it means to win in internet money. This is the week of 630 review video. I'm gonna just stop counting like how many. I think we're on number 4 now, but yeah, I mean this is a lifelong journey that I'm gonna be sharing with you all because I don't have a plan on when I'm gonna stop trading. So going to continually be increasing my mastery in this game, and you all are going to see the results and problem solving that it takes to not only become masterful in internet money. I'm a day trader, so not just but it's the same, right? It's the same no matter what business you're running in this online space. So I'm not just showing what it takes to go from unprofitable to an elite status and being very masterful, but also to increase mastery further and further and further, and to stay on that path of excellence, staying at the top. So the way that I'm doing that is just showing my daily, weekly, monthly, yearly results and just keep it on that cadence. I guess I don't really create monthly review videos, but you can see, you can track it throughout the weeks. I will show certainly yearly, but you see each week how I'm progressing, the results that I'm getting. I show every day's live trading, just like I'm not trading for you all in the sense of I'm not doing a live stream where you take my signals and stuff like that. That's not the point. The point is that you get to see me execute. You get to see me get the result. I film everything, and so I post it on here. And then as I'm going back through these weekly review videos, showing the problem solving, you can be like, oh, okay. And you go back and you see the results that I got from earlier in the week. And just a little bit more about the reason why I'm showing this is that I believe that I know this is the most important aspect of building a business, and it's the part that I think is not showed at all, which is the over time, getting the results over time, and then working with those results, not just showing the wins, but the wins and the losses, the winning streaks, the losing streaks, working with those results to get what you want and the true results that we are all looking for. So yeah, with that, I think that I'm just going to keep this intro really short today, and it's time to look into my results from this week and just what I'm paying attention to and my focus for next week. All right, so here are the results for this week. I'm going to start off by just doing a quick recap of the trades that I took in terms of just showing them. So on Monday, there were 4 low-risk losses that I took. Tuesday, there was no trade. Wednesday was that was also a low-risk trade. And that was a win. Got about probably 1.5 R off it, and then the same thing for Friday. This was Wednesday, and this was Thursday. It felt like Friday because we had the 4th. So overall, it was a relatively, I would just call this a break-even week. 100%. This is just a break-even week. So what I will say is Monday was very frustrating. It certainly can happen to have 4 losing trades in a row. I was still within my risk parameters. They were all quite low risk trades. And so, ended up being I had about $10,000-ish, 11,000 probably on the day to potentially risk. And I ended up risking probably about that, and then trailed out for about $8,500 on that day, $8,800. But I certainly focused. It felt like something was not quite right. I will say that, over time, it is very possible to see that having a losing day like that, like again, I kept the losses small to where it didn't like destroy me in any means. But I've noticed that like if we go back to since I started all in, my performance, I just have felt like it's began to decline a little bit, right? Call it holding the money over a challenging time in the market. That's fine. However, I'm still always, I'm going to be looking for ways that I can improve my edge. And so that was something I did very well this week. As I was spent time with what I'm calling them strategic habits, and I'll show you the list of them right here. I wake up and I call it reminding myself of the truth. You can interpret that any way that you want. But I then write my ideal outcomes for the day. I do my live trading. I review my performance like always. But the two that I've added are reflecting on the market and my strategy within it, and then reflecting on my vision and how I will achieve it. And then, of course, it's just reviewing my ideal outcomes. So these two are very important, and I spend a good amount of time each day on those. And so this one, the reflect on the market and strategy within it. So I sit here, I was reflecting on the market from Monday, and I was also looking at my performance here. And what I noticed is that as a liquidity-based strategy that I trade, volume is something that's very important. And I noticed that in my system, I have very logical and clear reasons for the way that I change allocation of risk based on the first 15-minute period after the open and then the second 15-minute period. So that's from 9:30 to 10. And I realized that, okay, these make sense. But after 10, I was like, okay, I get a little more confused. So like on this day, I felt it in my intuition, but I'm like, I need to get a definition of why. So it's like these first two trades, I had no problem taking in terms of like feeling. But these last two trades, something felt a little off in the sense of like, I'm like, okay, like it's been so long. It's been so long and I'm still executing on this. And that's the reason why, that seems like a problem in my head is because of volume is what I've determined. So what I did is I ended up breaking my performance up into first hour-long periods over this time. Here. I'll just show, like, I will show what I'm talking about. I'll just do it live here, because why not? So I was looking at this period, I'm like, okay, I go to this reports tab, and then what I do is I break up my performance, and I first did it into 1 hour periods. So what I noticed was that from 9 to 10, and I start trading at 9:30, but from this hour, 9 to 10, the performance is dramatically different than the performance from 10 to 11. And so I then broke it down into 15-minute periods. And then this is where it really started to make sense to me is that, okay, you can see win rate starts high and then it declines. However, in my system, the way that my risk is set up is that I have risk high at this first 15-minute period, low at this second 15-minute period, and then high again. But win rate continues to go lower and lower. It goes back to volume. So I'm actually going to go into here, go to my notebook, and show what I'm talking about. So this is just like an example of a volume down here, example of volume on MNQ during the open. So like this big red candle, this is on Monday. That is the opening 15-minute candle, and there were 76,000 micro contracts traded. The next 15-minute candle, there's only 55,000. And so for me, I just noticed that this opening 15-minute period is almost always, it's probably about 95%, and I'm tracking it now, but with about 95% higher chance, higher volume than the second 15-minute period. But then afterwards, here they're lower, but it can be higher, it can be lower. It's a lot less predictable. And so I'm focusing more on those known variables. So I've decided to make my performance just focused from 9:30 to 9:45. And so I'm going to put a filter on for that time, and I'm going to show you some of what I'm noticing about that and why it makes sense and why my performance is higher this way. So we're going to go 9:30 to 10. Okay, so now we can see these two periods. So from 9:30 to 9:45, so far over the past 6 weeks, I have an 85% win rate. So very, very, very high win rate. And in that time, I don't anticipate it to stay that high necessarily, but like certainly like the 60 to 70% range over time. But who knows? Maybe it will stay that high. I don't know. But what I do anticipate it to be is higher than 9:45 to 10. And what I notice is that with that higher win rate, though, the number of trades are lower. And then with the lower win rate, from 9:45 to 10, the number of trades are higher. But the P&Ls on both are relatively the same. And that's very logical. What I'm doing is I'm putting more risk on this higher profit factor time, and I'm putting, or did I say low risk? I'm putting, yeah, more risk. I said I'm putting more risk, high risk, right, on this higher profit factor time, and I'm putting lower risk trades on this lower profit factor time. But it's still a profitable time. And so the low risk here allows me to take more stabs at this lower win rate period to where it doesn't create too big of a drawdown, but I can still take advantage of the profitability over time. Here I put higher risk on because there's higher win rate, but there's lower amount of trades, and I end up winning, a lot of them and making the money. So when I looked at my performance over the past 6 weeks with this filter on, I'm like, oh wow, that really, really improved my performance, going from a profit factor of, we can look here, 1.61 to 3.12. I mean, that is almost double. It really, really dramatic increase. So with that, I made the decision this week to reduce my entry time from 9:30 to, so it was at 9:30 to 10:45, and I've reduced it to 9:30 to 10. And just those two 15-minute periods where I understand the volume dynamics clearly, that is what I will continue to execute on. And with this, I have also in my system, I have increased the goal profit factor to be at least 3 over time. I had it at least 2, but after seeing this and seeing that, okay, like even through these challenging market conditions over the past 6 weeks, if I, and I'm just executing in this 30-minute period and I'm getting a profit factor of 3, I want to make sure that I'm over time maintaining at least a profit factor of 3. And that's just another thing about the goals. Like, it's like, as I'm continuing to meet that, I will also continue to increase that if I see fit, or potentially add a different metric or an additional metric as a goal. But as of right now, that's what I've decided. And so, yeah, that's the main thing that I did very well this week, is I problem solved like that very effectively. And I did use AI as a way of really helping me with this. I'm going to be integrating AI much more heavily, and I'm in my problem solving, and
I'll share with you all the ways that I'm going to do that. But as of right now, it's very simple, but um, for both my trading learning and also like my vision and how I'll achieve it in more personal aspects, I simply just ask AI to challenge me basically to articulate more clearly. And that really helps the learning process. And so I'm going to be taking some time every day really to be creating prompts using various tools, creating prompts for like the GPT-4 or Chat GPT that are going to aid in the learning process and aid in articulating and yeah, just learning in general. So I'm very excited to be building those and implementing them into my systems. Okay, so let me take this filter off. And so these two trades actually show it very well. So one thing that I did poor, or that I fell short on this week. So you can see that my average win-loss continues to be 1.5, and that's not necessarily bad. My goal is, I don't want to use the word bad, that's not necessarily an ineffective execution of my system. My goal is from the 2R region, which here, that was at London High area. From here, that was, well, this was very open TP. So I was kind of, and I only had one micro on, so it was a little bit different. But my goal is to take 1.5R off of the 2R region every single time, just to make sure that I'm securing those base hits, because base hits over time are what I know will lead to just like the foundation of profitability. But then also runners I know need to hit sometimes, and my runners almost never hit. And often recently, I would say over the past 3 weeks or so, never get me anything more. I should have just closed the trade in full at the 2R region. Excuse me. And I was like, okay, why is this? Well, I realized that, again, I keep trying to outsmart my system, because once the 2R region is met, that idea is that I have a final take profit that is further away. And so on that way up to that final take profit, I'm taking off, 1.5R, make sure I'm securing base hits. But then through that 2R region, what I'm anticipating, because that region is almost always a point of liquidity. Well, it's almost always a point of liquidity. Is that I'm anticipating a squeeze through it, and a squeeze is, it's a liquidation, it's aggression being rewarded. It's a very aggressive movement, and so what I need to do is be aggressive with that. And I've outlined that in my system, but with something I've been doing, because I'm like, oh, but it never hits final TP. It's like, okay, but like what you are doing is getting extra amounts off. So in this case, I needed to be butting up on every, high volume, positive delta candle, every engulfing, really. I needed to be butting up and butting up all the way up, probably up into this candle up in here. So taking a whole nother R off of this trade. No doubt. Instead, what I did, I was like, no, I'm gonna blend being conservative and aggressive, and that just doesn't make any sense. You have to be clear on what you're doing. So in this case, I was like, I'm just gonna trail like very slowly behind it and not really get up on it. It's like, the whole logic behind it is to be aggressive. The whole logic behind it is to be aggressive, and instead, all of these trades, both of these trades hit final take profit, but I got stopped out at the literal. This one ended up hitting final take profit too. The literal, like pretty much the low of that liquidity sweep before going to final TP in both cases. And the reason being is because I was not, well, first let me say this, that can happen, but it's because I'm not, in this case, it's because I am not effectively balancing aggression as well as being conservative. And so that's very important. And so when it comes into that's the main thing, and where and what's the 1% tweak I'll make for next week is just continuing to not try and outsmart my system, understanding that there's reasons why I do what I do, and it's that if I am to change if I am to change what I do, what I must do is I must change the system, and I must have clear reasoning for that. Sometimes I can do that intuitively, right? That's fine. It should always be intuitive, but it should also almost always or always have data behind it, right? And so that's where I'm like, well, let me execute it very well, continue to see it over time, how it's performing, and then I can make some decisions based on that. So that's the main tweak, is that I'm going to maintain aggression through these 2R regions with trailing my runner, so that I do make sure that I'm grabbing extra off that runner, and so that this 1.5R average loss starts going up to 2 or higher, because I really want to see that 2 or higher. So yeah, that is the main tweak for next week. Overall, though, it was a killer week, absolutely killer week. I was extremely productive. And the strategic habits have been very helpful. One thing I've also done is broken my day up in terms of, I now think of my day. Well, first let me say this. The way that I view life is like, okay, I have my vision very clear. And it's like, now what I must focus on is winning the day. Because if I win the day, I win the week, I win the month, I win the year, right? And but it has to have that direction from the vision. So you have, it's like, it's the two extremes, right? You have the long-term vision, and then you win the day. And so that's the way I've been thinking about it. I'm like, well, how do I win the day? It's like, okay, so I have to work with where I'm at, with my mind, with my body. And so deep focus is a very taxing place on the body. The mind loves it, but the body certainly needs a recovery. And so what I do is as I begin my day with very deep focus, I transition late morning to light focus work. Early afternoon, I transition back to deep focus work. And then in the evening, I transition to more light focus, meditative, reflective work before going to bed. And my productivity has just, I would say, qualitatively 3x'd from that. Like, the amount of shit that I get done is unreal. So it's been very empowering. And I'm very excited to continue with my strategic habits, and just build these systems for learning. Like, really what I'm doing is building these systems for learning that are going to allow me to stay at the top of my game, and that all like consistently over time. And those systems are what, I'm focusing on building to have unshakable confidence in, and knowing that I'm going to, no matter what comes my way, no matter what challenge comes my way, I'm going to be able to, with extreme efficiency, work through that, learn, and become better. So that is what I am focused on. And yeah, so that was the review of the week, and then what the 1% tweak I'm making for next week. One other thing I wanted to mention was how I was getting the first 5-minute candle strategy that Casper SMC put out, the mechanical strategy. I have gotten that coded, and it is running, at least in real time so far, it's running properly. The back testing in Ninja is showing just distorted values, like it doesn't make any sense, risk parameters being way off, and all that. But on the developer's end, it's looking just fine. I have a feeling it is settings I have somehow in Ninja to where past data is getting distorted a bit. However, I just want to show, like, this is the most recent example when I would have it running. This was on Thursday before July 4th, and the strategy, very simple. First 5-minute candle range, fair value gap created through the range, stop loss to the middle candle, fixed 2R. It allocated risk properly. 10 micros, all for about a $500 risk. So I can change the risk. So like just watching this, like I can change the risk. Let me remove it and add it again just to show. It's called fair value gap strategy updated, but it's so I can change the risk to like 300, and then I can also increase like risk reward. Say I wanted at, let's do like 3. Say I want it at 3, and I can enable, apply, calculate. So at this point, right, put only 6 micros on, but now it's executed on a risk reward of 3. I would like to see the back testing over time with different risk rewards, but the strategy is the strategy, the way that Casper put it out. So, two risk rewarded. This all will work fine. I would be happy to throw this on to some evaluation accounts and just let it run over time. I'm a discretionary trader, and I have a brain, or I have a consciousness. I'm a human being, and so really, especially with AI, right? We need to make sure that I've realized we really need to make sure that we're leaning into being human, and what makes us uniquely human. So instead of me trading something mindless like this, I'll have a robot do it. All right. So that's why it's been created. But when I see profit potential, it's like, well, yeah, but I can still take advantage of it while also trading my discretionary system. I can have this running in the background and potentially making some money. So when I do get a new computer, which I'm still figuring out when that's going to be, I will just have this running on the side. Only thing on this computer will be Ninja and Rhythmic, and I will just have some Top Step accounts linked up onto here. Own instance of Replicanto, put it all up, let it trade. And yeah, I've done about 50 trades of error. I can actually show. I've done 50 back testing trades for this on TradeZella. Let's go to, here. Okay, so I've done 50 or 61 trades. Let's see what the results are. And so like this is enough, as long as the strategy executes, fine. This is enough for me. But overall, I mean, profit factor of 1.83, I would gladly have a mechanical strategy, executing with that. So, so yeah, with that, and then seeing it, executing properly, live, I'm just gonna, watch it a few more days, make sure it's doing that, and then whenever I get my new computer, call it in the next couple months, I'll just have that running on the background, and yeah, keep log of that performance, and I'll let you all know, how that's going as well, of course.
So that is it for this weekly review. As I begin to use AI more strategically in my systems, I'll let you all know about kind of the high level of how I'm doing that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing my results from this coming week with you all.